Hey guys, this is Josh. This is my first video here on We Talk Comics. My friend JT asked me to make a video if I feel like it talking about comics. So I read one yesterday that I thought was pretty awesome. I just wanted to kind of share my thoughts on the comic and kind of see what you all thought if you looked at this book. But the one I'm going to be talking about today is one of the first annuals by DC. This is the Batman #1 of the New 52. And I really enjoyed this one. I've got a few things I just wanted to kind of talk about, and some things I liked and some things I didn't like, what they changed in the story. And I guess we'll go ahead and get into it. As you'll see, this is a digital copy of it. I get most of my comics in digital form. That way I can look at it on my Kindle here. I like it a lot. I can store, hundreds of comics on this one device and just take them anywhere I want to go. But that's not why I'm making this video, so let's get back on point. So basically this book is talking about Mr. Freeze and his origin story. So, there's things that I did like about it and things that I didn't. Some of the things that I did like about it is that I thought that it tied in well with the whole Night of the Owls concept with, the running story of Batman. And as you can see, it's even tagged with the Night of the Owls, and that reason is, if you look in this comic, it kind of explains that the Court of the Owls use Mr. Freeze's, I guess, his medicine or his formula to bring these Talons back to life, all the assassins that they sent after Batman, which I thought was a pretty cool tie-in. I thought it worked pretty well with these stories. And another thing that I really liked in the story that they have done is I think they've kind of made, Batman's enemy, Mr. Freeze here, a little bit more involved, I guess. I think that the story kind of shows how Bruce Wayne, stops Mr. Freeze's research on his wife, Nora, which there's another twist there that I'll get to that in just a minute. But I think that, he stops his research, he takes his wife away, and, ultimately he fights Batman in the end. I just kind of think that makes for, a deeper relationship, to Mr. Freeze as far as making him be against Batman. And I just think that, it's not just some common villain where he's like, oh, Batman foiled my plan again. I'm really hating this guy. I think it's just kind of a deeper subject, and I think that it kind of ties in well with it. But I kind of made a list of some of my favorite panels in this comic, and I'll just kind of go through them and talk about my thoughts and why I liked them. So the first one I got here was on my page #4. It starts off and we kind of go back through Victor Freeze's early life when he was a child, and I guess one of his favorite things to do was to make, snowmen out of apples, decorated with apples. I don't really know how you can decorate a snowman with an apple, but I don't know, it could be something cool. But, early on we see that his mother actually falls in the ice and it freezes her that way, so that kind of brings in a deeper connection to what we've, heard in the past. Most of the time when you hear Mr. Freeze, you think, oh, his wife Nora, that's the whole reason that he's became Mr. Freeze, is to try to, find something to make her well for her condition and unfreeze her, and just so they can kind of live happily ever after. But this kind of ties in a different story, a different aspect about his mother, which I think that part works pretty good, but it kind of takes away from the original storyline that we've, all known. And let's see, the next thing that I thought was pretty cool, from his childhood it goes back into Arkham, where he's currently being held, Mr. Freeze, and he's being interviewed by a psychiatrist, and of course he breaks out, and he turns Arkham into a big frozen paradise. I thought this one was pretty cool. It's on my page #9. It just shows how he's turning everything into ice and killing all the guards. Anybody that gets in his way, he's just taking them out. And then I guess, magically he breaks off one of the guards' fingers and uses it to access his suit, which I think is pretty cool. You get a good picture of his suit on page 13. And actually, I actually kind of like it with the exposed arms. I think it kind of makes him look less like a robot and more like what he is, just a mad scientist who needs, the code so he can survive. And I think the whole story with him going to meet with penguins pretty cool. Freeze, penguins, they work together, quite a bit. And I thought that whole aspect of it was pretty cool. I thought that all the artwork for this was right on. I really love how they did Mr. Freeze and the Penguin. I thought they did a really good job with that. Let's see what we got next. One thing I didn't like on the whole Penguin meets Mr. Freeze is how he talked. Mr. Freeze was talking about when he was younger, he used to freeze parts of animals just to kind of see how they would affect the animal. I think this kind of took away from the character for me too, because I always just pictured Mr. Freeze as being just a scientist that has kind of been at a tough crossroads, and he's kind of just had to make the tougher decisions to try to save his wife, where, this kind of makes him seem like he's just always been crazy and always wanted to torture people and torture animals, and I think that kind of takes away from the story some. So, I don't know why they went that way, really. I guess just to kind of build on their other story, which is coming up, which kind of changes the whole backstory on Mr. Freeze. So, that's one thing I didn't really like, how they changed that. So after he and the Penguin meet up, and the Freeze gets his guns and goes to find Bruce Wayne to get back at him, it kind of goes into a flashback story, and you kind of figure out that Bruce Wayne's kind of a dick to him. All Mr. Freeze wants to do is kind of save his wife, do some more research there, and Bruce Wayne just like, I don't want to do this, I'm going to cut all the funds, and this is where you see they get into the fight that causes Mr. Freeze to actually turn into what he is, which is another reason that I think that it kind of pulls it deeper into the relationship between the two. So it kind of goes through that, which I think is pretty cool. It shows Nora being froze. I think all that artwork is really on point for this. And let's see what it goes to next. The next little section where it actually shows him in the present time, where he's broke into the Wayne Towers, it shows Nightwing and Robin, show up to kind of help, I guess, deter Mr. Freeze from breaking into Wayne Towers and taking it over. Which, at this point, I don't really know why they're in this story. I guess it's kind of pointless. They're only in there for a couple of pages, but I think what they were trying to do probably is to show how powerful he is, because they fight for a few panels, and then it shows basically that Mr. Freeze just kind of takes over and kind of holds Robin for ransom for Batman to, basically come and face him. So that's ultimately what happens. He goes up to the penthouse, I guess, and it also does a flashback right here, which I think is pretty awesome. And this is where you learn the plot twist, where we actually find out that Nora, spoiler alert, Nora is not his wife. It's actually somebody that he studied in school, and he just became obsessed with her, which I thought was really crazy. Like, I don't know. I wish they wouldn't have went that way, but I can see what they're doing, I guess. But that just kind of takes away from the character, I think. I always thought that it was going to be his wife. Like, that's the whole reason he is Mr. Freeze, is to try to make Nora better, find the cure, and help save her. But now you just find out that, it's not that love that's pulling him this way. It's just an obsession that he had when he was doing his doctor. But I think that this panel's pretty cool, where you can see them looking at each other, I guess, basically, where she's frozen. And this is actually where Batman's telling him, no, Victor, you can't take Nora. And this is, basically where it shows them get into the fight and how he turns into Mr. Freeze. One thing that I thought was pretty awesome, though, it did show why he needs goggles. I never really thought about it in the past, but he needs goggles so his eyes don't mess up. Let's see what it says here. Yeah, basically to prevent his eyes from freezing in their sockets. I was like, well, I never even thought about that. That makes perfect sense. But yeah, anyway, he gets back into the present time, and he and Batman, face off. And I thought that the colors here worked really well. I thought that this whole artwork was done really great. And basically, I think that this was a great story. It was, like I said, a plot twist, and I don't know if I really like how they did the character, but maybe that opens up some things that they can do later on in the comics. Maybe that's why they did it that way. But when I first read this, I thought it was awesome, and I actually read it through it again, and then I just kind of got to thinking what I didn't like about it. But overall, I thought it was great, and it really is kind of inspired me to get more into the comics. I've been out for a little while on comics, and I've just actually recently got back into it with this new 52 going on. I really like it if I can kind of start at the beginning of the story and not just jump in at issue 686 and be like, what the hell's going on? With this new 52, I can start at issue number 1 and just kind of follow the story as it goes. But this Batman and Animal Man has been really great. If you haven't checked it out, definitely look at it. It's one of the best ones that I've been reading. And then Swamp Thing is awesome. I actually read that annual, and I thought it was pretty good. It was kind of a letdown to me as far as the team up goes. If you've read it, let me know what you thought about it. And the last thing I want to talk about really is this last page or so where it shows Mr. Freeze pushing his mother back into the lake, I guess the frozen lake. Of course, when they thawed her out, she was kind of messed up, and she wasn't like she was beforehand. So I think what Victor does, he just pushes her in the lake, and it kind of leaves it up to you whether it's just to actually kill her or if it's to maybe preserve her like the way she was. So if you've read that, let me know what your thoughts are. If you think that he's just showing off where he's killing another person, like he said when he was younger he would freeze parts of animals. Do you think that's what it is, or do you think he's just trying to maybe save his mom for a later day and time to where he can maybe find a cure to fix her? Or if he's just maybe trying to preserve her as he remembered her before she was in the accident. Let me know what y'all thought about that, and I'm going to try to do some more videos. If y'all like this, just leave me some comments below, and I appreciate y'all letting me do this video. Thanks, guys.